A narrator tells us about the beauty of his world, which is filled with mighty creatures and humans, but the fiercest of all is the red dragon, who is believed to be the most overpowered beast of them all. Now we move into the elf housing cave, where a couple of blobs make plans to settle with their kids. Their realtor, named Daria, is shown to be a smooth operator who promises the blobs protection against all monsters, even dragons. Now we meet our hero dragon, named Letty, who is actually shown to be a useless beast incapable of even protecting his family. He is scolded by his superiors and is told that he is a waste of a dragon who deserves to be disowned. This is exactly what happens as the hero dragon is left stranded in the middle of nowhere. He plans to start a new life and build a new home, but is expectedly taken as a prisoner by a bunch of soldiers because they don't want to take any chances against him. Letty cries like a little baby, but the knights don't give in to their feelings of pity. The red dragon unleashes his skills of deception to be freed, and then he makes an awkward escape, which leads to a comedy of errors. He bumps into a couple of beast girls who offer to teach him how to fly, but all it leads to is a hilarious crash. The girls eventually leave Letty trapped for some goblins to find, but he unleashes his tears once again and they tell him to find an elite tough priest who is actually Daria. Our hero dragon goes on his way looking for a new house but runs into a bunch of goons pretending to be heroes. He tries to act silly again, but it's of no use as the fake heroes bully him without mercy. That's when Daria shows up and uses his ultimate lightning blast to burn the fake heroes to a crisp. As expected, Letty trembles in fear upon seeing this, but the elf priest decides to help him find a new house. After being woken up from a bad dream, our hero dragon learns that Daria is an elf architect who's a jack of all trades, as he is also a demon lord. Letty moves forward with his new elf buddy and they enter a dungeon, but what follows is a hilarious sequence filled with trapdoors and angry monsters hiding behind them. Our hero dragon is no expert but is still able to survive all the traps, and then he decides to climb his way back to the top of the dungeon. Daria helps him out against some other fake heroes by using his holy powers to take them down. Letty is finally able to make it out of the dungeon, and then Daria promises to take him to another house which does not have any hidden traps. Our hero dragon is happy to hear this, but gets creeped out when he notices that the house is haunted. After a few funny scares, Letty sees a couple of ghosts so he runs away asking for Daria. However, he passes out after seeing a bloody door and a skeleton ghost behind it. Luckily, Letty wakes up to Daria and the Ghost King who is the elf priest's friend and has also been living here for 200 years. The ghosts are shown to be friendly, but Letty wants to live in a peaceful house so Daria decides to show him something else. The next destination is a hidden lair which is inhabited by creepy witches who are able to grant any location through a variety of doors. Letty is amazed by the different options in front of him but finds the vibe to be weird so he declines their services. Now, Daria makes Letty realize that he's broke and has no money to pay for a new house. Regardless, the elf architect summons a bunch of gnomes and ogres to help our hero dragon in building a new house. He happily watches everyone in action but is beaten up by the gnomes when he tries to paint their sections. After some awkward interactions, everyone builds an amazing home but Letty still has to find a way to pay all his workers. Luckily, his security guards are happy to simply be in the presence of a red dragon. At night, the fake heroes return, having been revived from their earlier blast, but the guards get to work and beat them up after which they also steal their equipment. Letty gets the title of Flame Dragon Lord and is treated like a hero, but he feels awkward about it so Daria offers to find another home for him. As our heroes make their way forward, they find themselves trapped inside a freezing zone where Letty has to wear a sweater. Daria tells him about yetis and how they live in such cold temperatures all over the year. Using this as inspiration, the elf priest decides to make his dragon client work for once in his life by making him build an igloo house. The red dragon tries to sort out dinner but runs away from reindeer and can't even catch rabbits because he always used to get his meat from the butcher. Things get foggy, and a yeti shows up to scare Letty, but he turns out to be a friend and takes the red dragon back into the igloo. However, things get a bit too hot for his liking as there are evil men everywhere, and the igloo melts as a result. Our dragon hero finds a beast egg but floats away and is consumed by a giant whale, only to wake up next to an Aquaman named Jones. Surprisingly enough, our hero dragon seems to like this way of life and warms up the beast egg. The next day, Letty finds Jones with a blade and starts imagining the worst, but then he figures that the Aquaman is simply cooking breakfast. Despite this, the red dragon wants to escape, so Jones shoots him out of the whale, and he's back to square one. He spots a seal and wants to eat it, but isn't able to do so because of its cuteness. That's when Daria reveals that he's actually using a discount, and laments that Letty is too sweet for a dragon and cannot survive in any extreme condition. Later, as our heroes have a meal, Letty's egg hatches, and a bird emerges out of it calling him Papa. Letty doesn't accept that this is his kid, but he is forced to become a single dad. Then, Daria explains that his bird child is actually able to survive extreme weather conditions. Now, the team heads to a territory led by overpowered landlords so that Letty can hand over his unwanted baby before their imprinting is completed. The first ones happen to be twin wolves, but the baby bird shows off its screaming powers and seemingly kills one of them. Next up is a beautiful girl who is willing to look after the baby, but she gets into a fight with an evil lady, so our heroes move forward. A lion man offers to care for the bird, but his cubs seem to be more interested in eating him up. There's some hope in a panther bodybuilder, but the red dragon doesn't want his child to become a Giga Chad. With all hope lost, Letty fears that he'll be a bad dad for the bird, and Daria even agrees with him. A bear man shows up with his kids and takes Daria for a chat, but a yak monster shows up and threatens the baby bird. This pushes Letty into breathing fire, but his tongue burns from his own flames. Luckily, Darius shows up and scares the yak away with fake stories about Letty. Now our hero dragon finally decides to name his baby bird and calls him Pip. Letty is still short on cash and isn't able to pay for Pip, so Daria takes him to a trade fair where he can get a job. The elf priest takes the red dragon to an elf man for work, but he doesn't seem too keen on having him here. Luckily, Pip uses his bird language to convince the elf man to hire his dragon dad. Letty is too scary for a normal job, so he's used by a wizard boy in his battles against other fighters. It's of no use as the fighters think that Letty is actually a fake dragon wearing a costume. Luckily, Pip uses his own powers to defeat everyone and maintain the Flame Dragon Lord brand. Now Letty is put into chance and is put through another arduous process, while a demon girl named Lilith meets Daria and starts talking with him. They seem to know each other from the time Daria wasn't even a Dark Lord, so we're taken to a flashback here. We see how the elf priest was proudly turned into a Dark Lord and had earned admiration from everyone, including Lilith. However, the elf priest simply quit his job and even messed around with his followers by using ancient magic. Back to the present, Lilith talks to Daria about the duties of the Dark Lord, but he says that his role isn't important anymore. Meanwhile, Letty continues to be a funny dragon and finds Daria, Pip, and Lilith around him. However, he gets tricked once again and is taken in by some goons who decide to sell him off along with Pip. Both Letty and his baby get locked up inside a cell and are seemingly useless when it comes to breaking out. The red dragon tries to bite his way out of the sound now but breaks a tooth in the process and laments his useless state. He is suddenly saved by a horse beast named Steve who takes him out of the cell and reveals that this is a fighting arena with other monsters like skeletons, many princesses, and werewolves. After a brief introduction, Letty is summoned to fight the skeletons and acts like a coward in front of the crowd. However, this time he comes out on top by smacking the skeleton army with his tail and is cheered by everyone. Meanwhile, Daria shows off his drinking skills by taking down an entire army of goblins who are unable to keep up with his holy elf liver. Later, Steve and the other beasts decide to create a distraction and escape the cell to gain their freedom. The mission starts off rather successfully, but it's hard for Letty to keep up a disguise because of his huge size. Steve suggests using a spacey book to distract the guards, but our hero dragon messes up once again, and Pip has to come to his rescue with his screaming powers. Despite this, the team is caught by an army of knights and are about to be apprehended, but then Daria arrives and knocks them out with ease. Seeing the beast community free and happy inspires Letty to have a family of his own, so Daria decides to take him to another destination. Our hero dragon gets tired very quickly, so Daria suggests taking a nap for now. However, Pip wants to play, so Daria agrees to take him on an adventure. For the first time here, Pip meets a leprechaun who tells him about a sad story where he lost his buddy thanks to the fake heroes. Pip manages to reunite the buddies and makes the fake heroes pay for their negligence once again, after which Letty starts looking for him. Our hero dragon starts crying out of fear but is happy to see Pip unharmed and happy. Now, Daria explains his elf existence to Letty and starts off with a story about how he always used to chase after knowledge ever since he was a kid. A flashback follows, and we see that Daria was quite the troublemaker for his elf people. This becomes a bit too much for the others, so Daria is sent to meet the legendary Serpent of Wisdom. The elf priest eventually meets the overpowered dragon snake, but starts asking all kinds of questions. This is good enough for the dragon snake, so Daria makes her his master for all his leanings. It seems all well at first, but then the cabin breaks down due to an earthquake, which is actually caused by the dragon snake. This issue repeats itself, but the elf priest decides to stay with his master, even though the witches tried to tempt him into their gag. After some careful consideration, Daria solves the issue by making a tent on top of the dragon snake. However, things change when a black dragon makes his appearance.